Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to go over how to create and roleplay a really interesting and fun D&D character. Now this is not me creating the character for you, because creating a character yourself is the most fun part of D&D. I feel like I often stay up late at night just creating new and different D&D characters that then I end up being sad that I can't actually play them. These are just some general tips for you to get started. And also, why am I wearing my headphones? I don't need to be wearing my headphones. Goodbye headphones. I'll go over kind of how to create an interesting backstory, but also how to roleplay your character, because I think that's a very big part of creating your character. I think you don't just create your character at the start. I feel like you create your character over the whole course of the campaign, no matter how long it lasts, how long it takes, whether it's a one-shot or it's a 7-year long campaign. I think you're constantly building your character. So let's get started. My first and most important point, and I'm sure you've heard this many times by now, is give your character interesting motivation. Not even necessarily interesting, give your character motivation. And what I mean by that is your character needs to have a reason to be doing what they're doing now. And this, this can be anything. You don't need the most complex and crazy reason. I'm gonna kind of use two examples throughout this video. The first one, I think we've all heard at some point. Let's say we're making an edgy rogue, okay? And this edgy rogue, their loved ones have been taken from them, and now they're out on a mission to get revenge, okay? Which is fantastic. That's a reason for this character to be out there, for this character to be exploring the world, for this character to be, out on a quest, to be, teaming up with people. Second character is a really rich person who's never really interacted much with people, and they very much love the comforts of their home. However, maybe they've been kidnapped, or maybe they've just, they've accidentally somehow ended up in the wild. Let's say, for the sake of this example, they were out on, a hunt with their family, but then they were robbed, and while everyone escaped safely, our character was left behind. Not on purpose, they just fell off their horse and they were left behind out in the wild. Their money and clothes were taken, and now their only mission, their only want, is to get back to the safety and comfort of their home. Now, both of these examples are simple and straightforward, but they both have a clear want for your character, okay? Your character doesn't have to want to be out there. They don't have to want to be exploring or fighting devils and gods and monsters out in the wild, but they do need a motivation. No matter what you do with your character, they need to have a motivation. Unless you're some really gifted writer or something, that if you really know what you're doing. But this is kind of aimed at beginners. So give your character motivation, because then you always have something to fall back on. Whenever you're in roleplay, or you're just kind of, some random character banter, you'll have something to fall back on. Also, on top of that, your backstory will very much play into how you roleplay, but also how you act and behave in combat. So our edgy rogue, of course, they want revenge, and they will be stopped at nothing, right? Nothing's going to get in their way, and they don't have issues killing anyone. They don't have issues, taking anyone out who's standing in the way. Whereas our other character, they're not used to killing. They're not used to being out. They're not used to fighting even. So what will that mean? Maybe it makes more sense for your character to take on a more supportive role. So maybe they're a bard, maybe they're a cleric. So maybe try and focus more on healing or buffing your party, which is also great. You don't have to do that, of course, but I think it's very important to kind of match your backstory to your character's class, or at least your playstyle. You could, of course, be something like a fighter. Maybe your rich person has been trained in the way of the sword. They've just never actually put it to use. Maybe they've been trained by one person and they've never actually faced any real threats. So, while technically they're capable, they're still not confident in using their sword fighting abilities. So no matter what class you pick, make sure to adapt your playstyle to your character's motivations and background, because it's a lot more interesting for yourself, because combat can kind of drag on at times in D&D, but it's also interesting for other people and also for your DM. Now, my second bit is going to be about allowing your character to change. Now, in my previous video about beholders, a beholder villain, go and give it a look if you haven't, I talked about wants and needs. This is something that's often used in writing, whether it be for films or for books, anything really. Characters often have wants, things they want, and they have needs, things they need. Really? I know, shocking, right? But these often clash, and where a want is something the character is trying to achieve, a need is often something they don't actually know about, but something they need to achieve at some point. And of course, you can't really force your character. Well, you can force your character to change, but you probably shouldn't. What often happens in D&D campaigns is that you get so used to playing your character a certain way that it becomes comfortable, and you kind of stay the same throughout. And I'm also definitely guilty of this. But I think it's important to allow your character to change gradually. So whereas at first, for example, the edgy rogue absolutely needs revenge, and they will kill anyone that has anything to do with killing anyone. That's a bit hypocritical, but maybe that's their lesson. But for example, maybe they find out at some point that there's someone in the party whose brother is a mass murderer. They've committed hideous crimes, they've done the worst of the worst, and whereas so far the edgy rogue has felt nothing but hatred towards people like that, and they think that everyone associated with people like that by extension is also terrible. Now they're met with this person that they've really come to like over these sessions, for weeks, months, years maybe even, and then suddenly they find out that this is someone who is related to someone terrible. So they can learn that not everyone related to everyone terrible by extension is also terrible. This doesn't mean your characters should give up on avenging their family, because that's kind of at the core of their character. And I never like in films when someone's trying to get their revenge for a whole film, and then at the end of the film they're like, oh no, I'm better than you. You can be better in many ways, especially in D&D. It's fine to kill a villain, that's fine. You should not feel bad about that. But you can learn, for example, that maybe instead of killing the villain and their whole family, you can just kill the villain, for example. A bit less dark, I guess. And for the really rich, scared person, they can learn that while the comforts of home are very nice, there's also something very special about the outdoors. Maybe they, meet all sorts of people that they otherwise never would have met, and they find a new appreciation for the world. And I don't think it's necessary to make them suddenly the bravest person on the planet. Absolutely not. And especially if you're mixing in mental health and stuff like that, because obviously if people are anxious, you can't just solve that. Speaking from personal experience, oh goodness. But of course you can make them go through a journey. They can learn all sorts of things along the way, and they can learn that they can be a good person. They can be someone that others can rely on, because that can be their journey, and they can grow more confidence. So it's important to allow your character to grow. Now the next bit is going to be about roleplay. And roleplay, especially to new players, is kind of this terrifying, dark, evil thing. You're kind of a scared rich person in this example, and I get it, because not everyone's confident acting, and not everyone's confident speaking even in front of other people, and that's completely fine. I feel like there's kind of two types of roleplay that I've kind of developed in D&D. The first one is, I think, the one you always see online when you watch people play D&D. When you watch professional voice actors play D&D, they're always doing voices, and while I love doing that, I'm not a voice actor, but I do love doing weird voices and accents and stuff. That's not something you need to be doing if you're not confident, okay? I want to get that out of the way. You don't need to do that, and that's not a problem. If you feel much more comfortable, instead of going, I hate you, you can go, my character angrily says that he hates your character, and that's fine. That's not an issue at all. You don't, we're all just nerds wanting to have a good time fighting dragons. So don't worry, you don't need to do any sort of acting. That's not what D&D is for. It can be if that's how you have fun, but that doesn't need to be the case, okay? Just do what makes you feel most comfortable. That, at the end of the day, that's the most important. We're here to have fun, we're here to feel comfortable and relaxed, and nothing else, okay? And just a disclaimer, if anyone in your group is trying to pressure you into role-playing any different, if they're trying to, force you to talk or behave a certain way, get out, because that likely means they're just toxic and they're, trying to have everything their way, and that's not, just leave. It's not worth it, honestly. And I get wanting to play D&D, but you shouldn't have to conform to other people just to have fun. So yeah, that's kind of my big, those are very big disclaimers. Yeah, do whatever you feel comfortable. But then, actual role playing, however, whatever style you go for, absolutely go for it. But then the actual role playing part. So, motivation plays a big role in roleplay. What's important and what makes things believable is that you ground your role playing in your character's beliefs. So, again, your character's beliefs have been shaped by the events that they've been through in life. So, start with your backstory. Start with, again, your motivation, bring that back. And then you know how to react to certain situations. You know how to react to, bad moments, good moments. If your character loves drinking a glass of wine before bed, they like being nice and comfortable. They're the rich person, right? A rich bard or a rich, they're the rich fighter, but they're a good fighter, but they're not confident. And all throughout life, they've just had a nice, easy life. Glass of wine before bed every night. The housemaid read them nice stories before bed every night. Suddenly, every time your characters have to have a long rest, your character can struggle. Your character can try and protest because maybe they're. And I mean, don't do this every time. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't make this a thing every single long rest. But sometimes, for example, if you're out in the wild and your party's kind of, considering a long rest but not sure, your character can be not so much in favor of a long rest because trying to fall asleep terrifies them now. Your edgy rogue, they grew up poor and then suddenly their family was taken for no reason other than greed from other people. They absolutely despise greed and they do not care about gold. When the rest of the party is looting, maybe your character is, kind of sort of detests them for looting. And can make some comments about it. But also, while they're a rogue, they would never actually steal. So this influences your behavior as a character, but also interacting with others. Your values are so important. Whereas your own values determine how you as a person react in social situations. On top of your personality, maybe your your shyness or your bluntness is stronger than your actual beliefs, but they're definitely a big part of what shapes you as a person and how you respond to certain situations. So always keep that in mind. And if it's easy, just write down a few things of like, this is what I believe in, this is what my character wants to achieve, this is how I want to go about life. Okay, so to summarize, it's very simple. Start with your backstory, start with your motivations, and then carry those over into your character's behavior. Build your values, build a few key examples of, okay, this is what my character cares about, this is what they believe in. And you can't think of every single example in the world of how they would react to every situation. I don't need to do that. Sometimes it's fine to think. You don't always need to have a response ready for everything. Sometimes it's okay to just have a little think. And I know it's a bit awkward to, if another player asks you something and then suddenly you're like, oh, let me have a think about that. But it's just fine. Especially, the more emotional or the more serious a moment is, the more okay it is to just take a moment and think, okay, how would my character actually respond in this situation? It's completely fine. So yeah, I hope this helps. If you want any tips on how to actually create a character, like from character sheets and all that stuff, let me know in the comments. I'd gladly make a video. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's of any help. This was a bit of a freestyle video. Actually, it was a second recording because the first recording was corrupted, so that was really fun. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Any things where you're really confused because maybe I didn't make any sense. Who knows? I probably didn't. So yeah, let me know. Go to the comments. Give me. If there's anything I said that you strongly disagree with, say it. And yeah, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. I have a Patreon, but I don't actually put much on the Patreon just because I don't have time. But if you'd just really like to support me, I'd very much appreciate it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have an amazing day today, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.